Chess lovers, Suren here, and in this video I would like to share with you a brilliant game played by the third world chess champion, Jose Raul Capablanca. His opponent is Karel Treybal, who was a prominent Czech chess player in the early 20th century. This game was played in 1929 in Karlsbad. Let's see what happened on the board. Capablanca opened up with d4 and Treybal responded with d5, c4, c6. We have the Slav defense, knight f3, e6. Here usually white is playing queen c2 or e3 or knight c3. These are the most popular moves according to modern theory, but in our game we have bishop g5. Black responded with bishop e7, after which we have the exchange of dark squared bishops on e7, knight d2 and f5. Black sets up Dutch Stonewall formation, and as you know, in Dutch Stonewall the light squared bishop is becoming a huge problem for black. Here we have e3, knight d7, bishop d3, knight h6. With this move, black is keeping the queen's diagonal open and later can go for g5 advancement. Here we have castling by both sides, queen c2 and g6. A very passive approach by Karel Treybal. Instead, it was better to go for g5. This looks more natural and this is actually standard attacking move when you are playing Dutch Stonewall, but in our game we have this passive looking g6. Here comes rook b1. White wants to organize his attack on the Queenside, knight f6. Meanwhile, white knight is occupying the central square, knight f7. We have f4, bishop d7, knight f3, rook d8, and there it goes, b4 is on the board, bishop e8. Meanwhile, black is looking for a better square for his bishop, but yeah, the bishop looks miserable, guys. Nearly all black pawns are on light squares, and this bishop is a huge problem for black. Meanwhile, we have rook c1, a6, queen f2, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, knight d7, and knight f3. Capablanca is avoiding the exchange of second pair of knights as the position is locked up. Later, the knight can be very useful when maneuvering or targeting black's weaknesses. Here, Treybal played rook c8 and c5. The pawn is now taking under control two essential squares, knight f6, a4, knight g4, queen e1, knight h6, and in here, although b5 asks itself to be played, but this is not a good idea. This can allow black to go for a takes b5 and then open up the a file for the rook. That's why Capablanca didn't hurry and he first played h3, knight f7, and this time we have g4. The third world chess champion is playing on both flanks, bishop d7. Meanwhile, black is making waiting moves, rook c2, king h8, rook g2. Capablanca is bringing his heavy artillery on the king side, and in here he played g5. And now the h-pawn will march forward. He simply buried black knight on f7. Look at this, guys, king g7. Meanwhile, black is freeing the h8 square for his rook, and h5, rook h8, rook h2, queen c7, queen c3, queen d8. Black is waiting. Meanwhile, Capablanca is not hurrying, he is maneuvering and is placing his pieces on more active attacking squares, rook g8. Here we have queen a1, rook b8, queen a3, rook g8, and finally b5 is on the board. A takes b5, and instead of recapturing, first we have this important check, h6 check, and once black king steps on the 8th rank, thus blocking rook's path, we have a takes b5. White manages to gain a precious time and we have b6. Look at this beautiful formation, guys, and the question arises, how is white going to break this Chinese wall? Queen b8 was played and rook a1. The only open file is the a file, and white is starting bringing his pieces on the a file. Now if queen a8, then simply queen c3. Black can't do anything on the a file. White has the total control over the a file, and now let's see how will Capablanca intensify the pressure. Meanwhile, we have rook a7, a weakened pawn on b7, which will later be targeted. Rook h1, the second rook is coming. Meanwhile, black is making waiting moves. Rook a4, king f8 and queen a3. We have the Alekhines gun, where white queen is supporting the rooks from behind. King g8, but black's 8th rank is successfully covered. White can't penetrate. King g3, Capablanca is starting to maneuver, although already everything was ready for the final blow and he could go for bishop a6. The idea is that if b takes a6, by the way, rook d7 is not a good idea. White can simply capture on b7 and then play rook a8. Black queen is trapped. That's why black should capture on a6, but after rook takes a6, if black makes another waiting move, then b7 is coming and then rook b6 followed by rook a8. White is winning. But after king g8, Capablanca made a waiting move with his king and then starting to maneuver. And now all this reminds me of Petrosian's play. You know, Petrosian was also a very patient player, not hurrying but gradually intensifying the pressure. Finally, we have it, knight d2. He's touching his knight and is bringing it on the a file. We have a targeted pawn on b7, knight d8, and there it goes. Bishop takes a6 is on the board. Finally, that crushing bishop sacrifice is on the board, after which black's position collapses. B takes a6 was played and rook takes d7, rook e7, and a beautiful move by Capablanca. Can you find his next move? Ready? He simply captured on d8, and after rook takes d8 we have knight takes c6 and black resigned. If queen a8, then white can capture on d8 and then on a6 and it's over. With these two passed pawns, white can easily finish up black. That's why after knight takes c6 we have a resignation. A very beautiful and instructive game by the third world chess champion. The way he managed to target black's only weakness and won the game was simply spectacular. In the end, as usual, would like to ask you to solve a chess puzzle. Please take a look at this position, which is also taken from Capablanca's game. It's black to move and win the game. I will wait for your answer in the comment section. By the way, I can also give you a hint, there is a back rank weakness. Thanks for watching. If you liked this game, give it a thumbs up. For more games, consider subscribing to my channel. Also, press the bell button to get notified about new uploads. I will see you in my next video. Take care.